The paper price is screaming 94. The street price is already 100. And a veteran bullion dealer just looked straight into the camera and said the quiet part out loud, once silver punches through $100, the next stop isn't $110. It's $150 in weeks. That's not hype. That's a supply chain snapping in real time. Because while the charts are busy flirting with new highs, something uglier is happening behind the counter. Refiners are refusing junk silver. Payouts are stretching from days to months. Dealers are putting minimum orders on customers. And the premium you pay to touch real metal is telling you the truth the spot price refuses to admit. Silver is not rising gently. Silver is being dragged higher by scarcity, fear, and a world that can't stop lighting matches. And today, I'm going to break down exactly what happened, why it's happening right now, and what comes next if $100 becomes a floor instead of a ceiling. Welcome back. You're watching The Currency Academy by John A.G. Let's get into it. First, understand the moment we're in. Gold is sitting at an all-time high, pushing into the kind of numbers that used to sound like conspiracy talk. 4,000, 5,000. The type of price that makes you blink, recheck the screen, and wonder if your app is broken. And silver? Silver is $1 away from its own historic line in the sand. That's the setup. Because silver doesn't behave like gold. Gold grinds. Silver explodes. Silver waits. Silver coils. Silver pretends it's boring, and then it rips faces off. So when a dealer says $100 is imminent, the only question that matters is what breaks first, the chart or the supply? Let's start where the real story begins, at the counter. A wave of brand new buyers is flooding into coin shops and bullion sites, not collectors, not hardcore stackers, regular people who couldn't tell you the difference between a round and a bar last month. They walk in with the same sentence. I don't know anything about metals, but I don't trust what's happening. That is the fuel. That is why prices don't just go up, they accelerate. Because fear demand is not rational. It does not wait for dips. It does not bargain. It buys what's available. And when fear demand meets a market that runs on thin inventory, the result is chaos. You're seeing it in minimum orders. One of the biggest bullion dealers in the country reportedly set a $500 minimum just to place an online order. Think about what that means. It's not a marketing strategy. It's a labor bottleneck. It's a volume problem. It's a silent admission that the flood is too big to handle. Small orders become friction. 2 items, 1 bar. When everything is moving, they can't afford to spend human hours on tiny shipments. So the smallest buyers get squeezed out first. That's not bullish. That's panic logistics. And the more insane part, local shops are still welcoming the onesie, twosie buyer. Someone can walk in and buy a single silver dime. One, tiny, simple. But here's the punchline. That little bit of silver now costs real money. A single silver dime can be priced like a snack used to be. $6, $7. And the people behind the counter are double-checking the math because it feels unreal. That is what a new bull market feels like at the street level. Not charts, sticker shock. Now zoom out. Why is this happening? It's not one reason. It's a stack of reasons collapsing on the same day. Global uncertainty is still on the screen. Wars don't pause because investors want peace. Tensions don't fade because an algorithm needs calm. Every headline adds another grain of sand to the I want hard assets pile. Central banks are still playing games. Leadership drama, policy confusion, rate talk that never ends. The kind of environment where the average person stops believing the story and starts believing what they can hold. And then there's the invisible poison. People feel poorer even when the numbers say everything is fine. That's the disconnect. You can publish a chart, you can print a report, you can brag about improvement, but if rent hurts, groceries hurt, and savings don't grow, the public loses faith. And when faith disappears, money runs. Not into stocks, not into tech dreams, into metals, into anything that looks like it can't be printed. That's the macro. But the micro is where it gets lethal. The micro is premiums. Here's the truth nobody wants to say clearly. In a real bull run, the spot price becomes a suggestion. The physical price becomes the reality. If spot says $94, but you cannot buy a clean ounce for less than $97, $99, $101, then you're already living in $100 silver. And it's happening right now. A basic generic round can be priced close to $97 with a tiny premium that looks small in dollars, but that premium is collapsing as a percentage. That matters. When silver is $20, a $4 premium is huge. It's 20%. When silver is $94, a $3 premium is nothing. It's a few percent. So the premium looks cheaper, even though the total cost is brutal. That is exactly how silver sneaks into a blow-off phase. Not with massive premiums, with massive spot. And here's where the dealer's prediction starts to make sense. Because once the world sees 100 on the screen, psychology changes. People don't ask, should I buy? They ask, how much can I get before it's gone? That's the shift from investing to chasing. Now, there's another signal hiding in plain sight: official pricing. When government mints raise prices aggressively, it tells you they're trying to stay ahead of a runaway train. They don't want to reprice every week. They don't want to sell out instantly. They would rather overshoot and look expensive than underprice and get cleaned out overnight. So when official products jump from high to insane, it's not random. It's a defensive move. And the funniest part? Sometimes the best deals appear in the strangest place. Premium products, proof coins, collector packaging, the stuff that used to carry an extra trophy price, suddenly gets sold at the same level as standard bullion because the market is starving for any ounce at all. The buyers don't care about the box. They care about the weight. And that tells you everything. In a scarcity market, beauty loses. Metal wins. And here's the part that should make your stomach drop. The price you see on a screen is mostly a paper number, a promise, a contract, a digital coupon that says someone somewhere might deliver silver later. But in a stress event, people stop trusting coupons. They want atoms. That's why you can watch silver dip $2 on a futures chart while the same day every dealer in your city raises prices or slaps an out-of-stock banner on half the catalog. That is not a contradiction. That is the market splitting in two. Paper can be sold with a click. Physical can't. Physical has to be mined, refined, minted, shipped, insured, counted, and secured. Every step is a choke point. When demand spikes, the choke points don't bend, they snap. And the snap doesn't show up first in the spot price. It shows up in weird behavior. It shows up in limit signs. It shows up in call for pricing. It shows up in higher cash discounts. It shows up in dealers paying more to buy than they did last week, even when the chart says down. That's why this phase is so dangerous for beginners. The screen can lull you into thinking you have time. The counter is screaming that you don't. And if you're wondering why the paper market still matters, it's simple. Because a paper break below a key level can trigger margin calls and forced selling. It creates a fake drop that looks like a collapse. That fake drop shakes out weak hands. Then physical demand absorbs the metal and the rebound is violent. This is why silver moves in gut punch waves, up hard, down hard, then up even harder. The volatility is not a flaw. It's the signature of a market that is small, emotional, and constantly attacked by leverage. Now tie that back to the $100 line. Once $100 is visible, every short position becomes a live grenade. Every trader who bet against silver suddenly has to decide whether to cover or pray. And when covering starts, it feeds itself. Higher price forces more covering forces higher price. That is how you go from $100 to $120 without stopping. And when the news finally catches up, they won't say short covering. They'll say unexpected demand. They'll say retail frenzy. They'll say meme metals. Anything except the truth. The metal was tight and the market got caught. After that, the only question is who gets the last ounce. Now let's talk about the engine room. The part that can turn a bull market into a supply crisis overnight. Refiners. This is where the story gets dark, because dealers aren't just selling. They're buying massive amounts of metal from the public every day, 6 figures, sometimes more. And normally that metal goes into a pipeline, buy from customers, send to refiner, get paid, restock, repeat. Cash flow spins like a wheel. But what happens when the wheel jams? You get the nightmare scenario. The metal piles up, and the money doesn't come back. And that is exactly what's being whispered right now. Some major refiners are refusing alloyed silver, 90% coins, sterling, anything that isn't ultra pure. Why? Because processing takes time, capacity, and chemistry. In a surge, they prioritize the easiest material, the cleanest, the fastest. So constitutional silver gets turned away, even if the demand is there, even if the dealer wants to sell it, even if buyers are begging. Refiners say no. That is a supply chain seizure. And even when refiners do accept certain items, payouts can stretch 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks. Other dealers are claiming 1 to 3 months. Read that again. 1 to 3 months. Imagine running a business where you buy metal today, ship it out, and maybe you get paid in 90 days. That's not a business plan. That's a hostage situation. So what do dealers do? They raise minimums. They limit what they buy. They focus on what moves fast. And the public feels it as lack of inventory. But the deeper truth is worse. The system is clogged. The metal is there, but the pipeline is broken. And broken pipelines create violent price moves. Because when dealers can't convert scrap into cash, they stop buying scrap. When they stop buying scrap, the secondary supply dries up. When secondary supply dries up, the retail shelves go empty. And when shelves go empty, the next buyer pays anything. That's how $94 becomes $100 without permission. Now add a second accelerant, taxes. In some regions, new bullion taxes are pushing buyers across borders like refugees. 10% just to buy metal. Think about what that does. If you spend $10,000, you donate another $1,000 and get nothing back. No extra ounces, no extra value, just a receipt. So buyers drive hours to avoid it. They treat it like a mission. And when people are willing to spend gasoline, time, hotels, and entire days just to avoid a bullion tax, that tells you the mindset is no longer casual. It's urgent, it's emotional, it's personal. And urgency always creates spikes. Here's the crazy part. The price prediction isn't based on a magical number. It's based on what dealers are seeing. They're seeing inventory fail to refill. They're seeing premiums shift. They're seeing buyers who don't blink. They're seeing official products priced like the future is higher, not lower. And they're seeing silver rip higher by tens of dollars in weeks. If silver could go from 70 to the mid-90s in a blink, why is $6 to $100 supposed to be impossible? It's not. And once it hits, the next question becomes, what is the next psychological wall? Some say $150, some say $200. The exact target is less important than the mechanism, because when silver breaks big levels, the move is rarely linear. It jumps, it gaps, it prints candles that don't look real, and the media will call it volatility, as if the market is just being dramatic. But volatility is what scarcity looks like on a screen. Now, I want you to notice something subtle. In the dealer world, they're already talking like $100 is here. They're saying, look at what it takes to buy a physical ounce. And that's the real metric, not spot, not futures, not a chart. The question is simple. Can you buy it today for the number you see? If you can't, then that number is fiction. And fiction does not last. It snaps back to reality. Fast. Now let's get practical, because this is where most people mess up. When silver runs, the beginner does one thing. They chase the cheapest headline. They buy the first listing. They pay insane premiums. They get emotional. They buy the top. Then they blame silver when it corrects. Don't do that. If you're watching this right now, you want a plan that survives both upside and whiplash. Here's the plan. 1. Understand your objective. If you're stacking for protection, you care about ounces. If you're trading for profit, you care about timing. If you're collecting for fun, you care about rarity. But in a scarcity spike, the market rewards ounces. Weight wins. 2. Watch the spread between spot and street. If spot dips but physical stays expensive, the dip is paper noise. If spot rises and physical goes vertical, the shortage is real. 3. Pay attention to what refiners are refusing. Because when refiners refuse alloyed silver, that is not a side story. That is the system telling you it's overloaded. And overload leads to rationing. Now, let's talk about the moment everyone is about to experience. The day silver hits $100. That day will not feel calm. It will feel like a door slamming. Every financial influencer will scream. Every comment section will explode. Every person who waited will suddenly want in at the worst possible price. And that's where the trap appears. Because silver loves to punish late chasers. It spikes, it shakes out, it dips hard. It makes you feel stupid. Then it rips again. This is psychological warfare. If you want to survive it, you have to anchor to one thing, the reason you bought. If the reason was, I saw a candle, you'll panic. If the reason was, the pipeline is breaking, you'll hold. And the pipeline is breaking. Refiners refusing material is a bigger story than any headline. Minimum order limits are a bigger story than any chart. Government pricing moves are a bigger story than any influencer, because those are physical signals. You can't fake them with paper. Now I want you to imagine what happens if the world gets another shock, a major escalation, a surprise headline, a central bank mistake, a policy crisis. Even one weekend of fear could push silver past $100 instantly. And once it prints, it becomes the new reference point. That's when $150 becomes believable, not because it should, because the crowd will make it happen. And the crowd is arriving right now, in real time. So here's my challenge to you. If you're still watching, you're already ahead of the herd. Don't waste that advantage by waiting until the screen says $100. Position before the psychological trigger, because after the trigger, you're competing with emotion. And emotion pays any price. Now I'm going to ask you a question. When $100 prints, do you think the public will finally understand silver? Or will they only understand it at $150? Drop your answer in the comments. And here's a second one. If refiners keep refusing scrap and constitutional silver, do you think physical premiums stay low, or do they explode again? Tell me what you think. And don't forget, subscribe to support the original work, and if you're part of the movement against copycats, comment John A.G. Best so I can see you. Now let's close with the reality nobody wants to say. Silver at $94 is not the story. Silver with a broken pipeline is the story. Silver with a surge of new buyers is the story. Silver with governments trying to tax it is the story. Silver with official pricing racing ahead is the story. Silver with refiners choking is the story. Because if the system can't process the metal becomes rare. And rare things do not stay cheap. So watch the next few days carefully. Not because the chart is magical, because psychology is. When $100 breaks, everything changes. And the next wave won't be stackers. Boy, it will be everyone who laughed at stacking last year. They're coming. They're going to hit the buy button like it's a life raft. Stay sharp, stay calm, and don't let the noise shake you out of your plan. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you in the next video soon.